All right, let's dive into these subtle, sometimes hilarious, and always fascinating differences between British and American English. It's a topic that's just full of these little traps for anyone traveling or, just trying to watch a movie without getting confused. You've probably heard the old saying that America and Britain are two nations divided by a common language. It's a great line, and honestly, it perfectly captures the spirit of what we're about to get into. So, just how deep does this division really go? Well, let's kick things off with a classic vocabulary mix-up, one that could lead to some pretty serious confusion or at least a very awkward compliment. Okay, check this out. If you're an American in London and you say to someone, "Hey, I like your pants," what you're actually saying is, "I like your underwear." Yep. In the UK, what you wear on your legs are trousers. It's such a simple mistake, but it can definitely cause some blushing. And believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. These vocabulary differences pop up in almost every part of daily life. We're talking food, fashion, getting around town. Let's just run through a few of the most common ones. The potato. This is where things can get really confusing. In Britain, if you order chips, you're going to get those thick-cut, hot-fried potatoes, what Americans call French fries. If you want that crunchy snack that comes in a bag, you have to ask for crisps. Get it wrong, and you might get a big surprise with your meal. And the clothing confusion just keeps on going. Feeling a bit chilly in the UK? You'd put on a jumper. In the US? That's a sweater. But the real troublemaker is the word vest. In America, a vest goes over a shirt. But in Britain, a vest is an undershirt. Two totally different layers of clothing. And then you hit the road, and it feels like you need a whole different mental dictionary. In the UK, you pop your luggage in the boot, you fill up the car with petrol, and you drive on the motorway. Over in the US, that would be the trunk, gas, in the highway. Okay, so let's shift gears. We've talked about the words we use, but now let's talk about how we say them. This is where things get really, really distinct. I mean, you can learn vocabulary, but accents are a whole different beast. One of the most classic instant giveaways of whether someone is American or British is how they pronounce the letter R, especially when it's at the end of a word. So, there's actually a linguistic term for this, rhoticity. Most American accents are what we call rhotic, which just means they pronounce the R sound wherever it's written. Standard British English, though, is non-rhotic. That means the R is usually silent unless it's followed by a vowel sound. So car becomes ca, and hard becomes hot. Now get this. The single word water actually reveals two huge differences all at once. Of course, you've got the R at the end, but listen really closely to what happens to the T right in the middle. In British English, that T is super crisp and clear. Water, better. But in a lot of American English, a T that's between two vowels gets softened into this quick D sound. It's called a tap. So water becomes water, and better becomes better. I'm telling you, once you hear it, you can't unhear it. All right, so let's move beyond vocabulary and pronunciation and get into the real nuts and bolts of the language, the subtle but really consistent differences in grammar and spelling. So here's one you might not notice right away. When talking about something that happened pretty recently and still has some relevance now, British English speakers often go for the present perfect tense. I've just seen her. But American English speakers, they tend to prefer the much simpler past tense. I just saw her. Both are totally understood, but there's a definite preference on each side. The verb get. This is another famous one. In British English, the past participle is got. For example, I have got a new car. But in American English, it's very often gotten. I have gotten a new car. What's really cool, though, is that gotten isn't some new American thing. It's actually an older form of the word that just fell out of fashion in Britain but stuck around in the States. Now, this is where you can see a really clear historical split. A lot of these American spellings can be traced back to one man, Noah Webster. He wanted to create a distinct American identity, and part of that was to simplify English spelling and make it sound more like it's written. So that's why he's the one who dropped the U from words like color and swapped SE for ZE in words like analyze. So we've looked at words, sounds, grammar, and spelling. All of this naturally leads to the big question that, trust me, people love to debate. Is one version more correct than the other? Is there such a thing as proper English? It's a question that's just loaded with history and a whole lot of cultural pride. Well, the simple answer is neither of them. And linguists are super clear about this. There's no single correct version of English. American English isn't wrong, and British English isn't stuffy or old-fashioned. They're just two standard parallel evolutions of the very same language. And that really is the key takeaway here. Language is always changing, always adapting. Both British and American English have been shaped by centuries of their own completely unique cultural influences, migrations, and innovations. One isn't better. They're just different. Ultimately, all these little differences just go to show how incredibly rich and diverse a single language can be. So, as you think about everything we've covered, from trousers and crisps to the way we say R and T, what's the one difference that stands out the most to you? And what do you think that tells us about how languages really live and breathe?